Okay, so today I'm looking at another piece by Canadian composer Jordan Nobles, and it's called Quickening. It's actually a shorter one, about 4 minutes. Now this thing was written in 2012, uh, and it is for open instrumentation. You can kind of see if you look at the score layout, he has like different versions of the same score for different clefs and transposition levels. So effectively, any orchestral instrument could play it. So you have the score in C alto clef, in C bass clef, in B flat, in E flat, in F, in G, and that's it. So unless you're using a really obscure instrument, you should be able to read off of one of these. The piece involves swells of very fast tremolos, um, which gradually decelerate over the course of the whole piece. Each system has a set of pitches to choose from and a dynamic which one can rise to. Each dynamic swell should proceed from as quiet as possible to the given dynamic at the head of each system. And each system is about 20 seconds. They should all be played in order. Pitches can be played in any octave as long as the dynamics are observed. There is no synchronization required between members of the ensemble. So, yeah, you can kind of see there's progressively fewer pitches to choose from with each um, system until you get to the C drone. Also, it can be played in any octave, right? So it's just written in a readable octave. Um, and then it seems to decrease in dynamic over the course of the piece, right? So you start forte, eventually you get down to pianissimo. And there's also some sort of indication on top about how fast you should be tremoloing. So that's about all I have to say, really. He gives examples here, which is kind of useful if you're um, maybe not great with text. This is sort of like what System 1 could look like for a musician. You could pick two of the pitches and play 30-second notes, repeating, and then swelling to forte back down, right? Whereas by the seventh system, you should be playing much slower, maybe only 8 notes over the course of 20 seconds. Um, yeah, it's definitely written with orchestral instruments in mind, but I assume you could also do saxophones, maybe guitars. Yeah, so the first performance is by the Aventa Ensemble. They premiered two other pieces of Jordan's, it looks like. So what does their makeup look like? Like, what is this ensemble? Aventa Ensemble currently is violin, viola, cello, bass, flute, oboe, horn, trumpet, piano, percussion. So almost a chamber orchestra. And the piece is dedicated to Jocelyn Morlock, who is worth talking about. I don't have any of her scores, but she's an important name in Canadian classical music. Born 1969, died in 2023. Um, Her whole career is based in Vancouver, as is Jordan Noble's, so they were colleagues, most likely. She was born in Manitoba, though, and studied at Brandon University before doing her doctorate at the University of British Columbia. And yeah, T. Patrick Carabray, I think for the longest time was still teaching at Brandon University, but left. Um, I guess he is a much more senior composer because he was teaching her composition in 1994. Um, And yeah, there's been a lot of like she died quite recently, right around the same time I moved back to Manitoba. So there's a lot of talk about her passing and her legacy um, very recently. And she died quite young at age 53. Um, she was composer in residence for the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra. These orchestra residencies are really, really big deal in Canada. There's not very many of them. So to even serve one or two terms is huge for your career as a Canadian composer. Um, I think there's pretty much just the VSO one, maybe like the WSO, Winnipeg has one, maybe definitely Toronto Symphony Orchestra has one, maybe the Montreal Symphony has one too, but but that's it, right? Yeah, her music exhibits a quirky and eccentric postmodernism. Um, my impression of it is that it's like kind of post-tonal sounding, not quite minimalist music, which is actually very accessible to a lot of Canadian audiences, and I think her music has gone on to influence a lot of music on the West Coast in particular, as well as in the Prairie provinces. Um, and I think she was a quite a dedicated teacher as well, so a lot of her students have gone on to compose a lot of similar music. So that was a bit of an aside. If you want to know more about Jordan Nobles, the composer of this piece, I talked about it a couple episodes ago. Um, and we're going to be covering more of his music. Um, yeah, not sure about why this particular one is dedicated to Jocelyn, but I think that's interesting. Link to the recording is in the video description. I encourage you to spend 4 minutes listening to this, especially if you had the patience to listen through my rambling. And I'll see you in 4 minutes. Cool. Yeah, I really liked this. It's got a cool layout to the score. And I like the ending. Yeah, just converging on the sea is very interesting. Um, suddenly a lot more parts start to kind of lock in, like different octaves of the same note um, start locking into one another. So that's interesting. I also like the choice to sort of end in C minor-ish. Um, first removing the E natural, then the B natural, then you just get like C G E flat A flat C G E flat C G C, which I think is kind of interesting choice. Maybe some people wouldn't like that choice and would want to keep it more dissonant till the end, but I think that yeah, that choice to make it sound very tonal halfway through definitely distinguishes this from maybe a textural piece of George Ligeti, you know what I mean, or like something more modernist. So it shows that kind of West Coast sensibility I was talking about.